Well, I've been doing a lot of stuff here off camera, but I'll make this quick and easy as I can here. So I literally just got done adjusting the valves and priming the engine with oil and everything. I put a full bottle of zinc in here along with 1540 Rotella because it's got a lot of zinc in it too. Biggest concern is wearing that flat tappet cam out right away and getting it started and broke in, so we want to make sure we have a lot of zinc. But I'm very pleased and happy with the oil pressure, and everything is flowing really nice in this engine. So as I'm priming the engine, I'm turning the engine over with the wrench about 90 degrees at a time, and to be ensured that everything's getting kind of oiled in its oil passages. We're getting right up at 50 pounds of oil pressure, so we know all that's in good shape. I'll be the first to admit I've never messed with one of these big blocks, but the oil pressure line seems to be right there above the filter. So we're going to get going on getting the intake put on. Probably not going to film a lot of that, but kind of go at steps with it. And I'll bring you back here in a few minutes. Alright, got that old intake put on there. Probably the next thing I'm going to do is go and Teflon all these plugs and water lines and all that stuff. There's quite a few plugs on this, so I'll do that, get those put in, and I probably won't put the thermostat in yet because it's adjustable for a radiator. I'll run my hose between the water pump. I'm pretty sure that the heater hose just goes back into this intake either here or there. I'm not entirely sure, but I'll figure that out. But the heater core in this car is bad, so we're just going to have to loop it back to the water pump, I do believe. Anyways, when you're using a really cheap, who knows what brand, this one says Assault, intake on here, you should definitely check fitment and stuff. I made sure the distributor was in before I torqued anything down, and made sure it had wiggle room so it wasn't like binding up at a funny angle. The reason I did that is because they had some of these holes pretty big on this intake, but it went on good. Just double check your torques. I had to use a couple of different sizes. I used 9/16 with the intake bolt kit I had, and then I had to use some header bolt on some of them, but just something to be looking out for. And then I think after that we'll get the valve covers on so I'm not knocking trash in this motor. And I got these, let's see if I can find one. I got these, well I had these, and I thought, well, they'd look probably okay with the black valve covers because I don't plan on painting them. These aren't very high quality. I don't know what brand they are. I've had them for a long time. But if you've ever used these type of things, you thread these into the head as good as you can. These like to come loose. So with that, if the valve cover is not real crappy, like these are really super cheap, I'll put a tiny little lock washer on here, and that usually keeps them from moving. If I have a lot of problems, I'll actually wrap a little Teflon tape just on the studs, and then that'll keep these from opening and turning and all that. And I may have all of the little hold downs for the valve cover too, and if I have those I might run lock washers on these. But anyways, that was just something I was going to point out that I do time to time. I've used these styles in the past, and I've used the ones where they're the little pin, the little thread, these things don't come out. They're actually part of this, and those are about the worst for coming loose and leaking everywhere. So anyways, so that's probably what'll be the next thing done, is fittings into the intake, valve covers, and then we might work on the throttle linkage and carburetor. But basically I plan on just doing the top of this engine, getting everything buttoned up other than a fan belt or alternator belt. I don't have one. And the next video we'll work on finishing up the exhaust and everything underneath. Alright, well, I think we got everything kind of going here. Valve covers are on. That's probably not the carburetor I'm going to be using, but whether it's the one I use or if I get a different one, they're both very similar, so not too worried about that. That's a 600 or 650, one of the two. It would probably run this 454 just fine, but you know, got a little bit of an aggressive cam in it, some other stuff going on. You know, 750 is probably a better choice for this engine. So anyways, like I said, got all that in, got most all the fittings in the intake. Temperature I'm going to put there. Like, I don't really know if that's the best place, because you can actually put it in on the head if you want, but I just thought that'd be the better place to put it. Got the throttle all done. It really wasn't that hard for me because I already had one of these universal Mr. Gasket throttle cables set up in this car to the gas pedal. So the only thing I don't like is this universal bracket. It's pretty flimsy, so I'm probably going to build a little bracket that goes from here down to one of these bolts, because I mean, I can see that thing bending. And yes, I know that's not how that goes, but just because that cable is so strong on kind of wanting to wiggle around, I stuck it through that just so it's not putting any more pressure on that plastic fitting there. Real quickly, so I've been getting just tons and tons of comments on what am I doing for headers. Well, I had to build my own headers. I mean, that's just how it is. Quite a few of you reached out, told me that Chevelle short headers will work, these headers will work. I ordered short Chevelle headers. I could not make them work. In fact, that's what these are for specifically Chevelles. I had to cut and make the header go around the steering column and then fit up over the cross member, because it was actually hitting the cross member as well. And then, if you guys remember, I pounded a big old dent in here because I thought that I needed it, and I actually cut another header and cut that whole part out and welded in another down pipe there, so it's not so hideous. The passenger side is a lot worse, just because it's got that horrible looking smash in it. I was thinking about cutting that out and redoing that pipe as well, but I might and I might not. And this is that header that I had to completely just build, like cut down, slice up and everything else. So anyways, the top radiator hose on this, because I'm using an AMC style radiator, is 1.5 inches, and so is those thermostat, these swivel aftermarket thermostats, they're 1.5 inches. So I end up just getting a 15-inch long, let's see here, oops, sorry about that, 1.5 inches by, was that 15.5 flex hose, and it's perfect. The alternator actually won't be sticking up that high, it goes quite a bit further down. The bottom radiator hose isn't going to be very horrible to do either. It's going to take a flex hose, and I've got a stainless steel piece of pipe that's 1.5 inches as well, and it'll bend and clear the harmonic balancer just fine without any worries about it getting hung up in that thing. So that's kind of all that, and I think I'll do the plugs and wires next and the distributor, and I think we're going to call the top end for the most part pretty well done. There's just some wiring and stuff I'll have to do, and that's pretty boring. I've got a fan on order, and I got to do all the stuff underneath the car still, so excuse me, it'll take another video or so before we can start her up, but hopefully it'll fire up and run good. But like I said, I'm really pleased with the oil pressure and everything oiling up really good, so that's really good news. All right, well, I'm gonna get those plugs and wires on and we'll bring you back. All right, there we go. She's fitting pretty good. Yes, I know these aren't the most expensive spark plug wires there are, but you know, that's what I can afford to show you on how I would build this any other day, and I would build this exactly this way because this is about what I can afford to do. So that one there, I'm probably going to have to get a boot, a 90 boot, because I think it's just going to touch the steering column no matter what. And in fact, this motor will tilt up ever so slightly, so it's just going to bring it even closer. Other than that, no real fitment issues or anything. I'll probably tidy them up a little bit more once I get a little further going here. But so far, I'm pretty happy with it. It's coming out good. And I think it's going to be a pretty fun engine. I mean, I don't expect this engine to be all that fast or powerful or anything, but I think it'll just be a fun cruise around engine. I imagine it's not built to where it's going to not be very reliable. And, you know, Chelsea's going to race it, and she'll let us know on exactly how tough it really is on the track. So, all right, well, anyways, I'm trying to put these in a higher definition, so it takes a lot longer to upload a video these days, but I think the quality is definitely worth it. So try to make these videos a little bit shorter, and just to keep the upload time a little bit better. Instead of 10 hours for 10 minutes, maybe I can do 8 hours for 10 minutes. So, all right, well, anyways, the next video we'll get the rest of the underneath of this car done, and then fingers crossed, hopefully we can get this thing fired up, because it's got a tank of gas in it, and I'd hate for that tank of gas to go completely bad. All right, we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.